Hello everyone, and welcome today, and I'm going to show off my cane a lot. Because it didn't cost a shitload, but it did cost a little money. I mean, I definitely like it though. But anyway, today we're going to have a really interesting conversation that I would like to really request people to not go quite batshit crazy. So we're going to talk about something that the creator of Nier and Drakengard has talked about. One of his inspirations for Nier. And I want to talk about this because I find it kind of actually interesting. Basically, he was at a panel where he talked about how he comes with his stories, what he thinks is important, and all that. And it's pretty much the usual stuff you would really find from most people that have any honor in making a game anymore. So, we'll skip that part and into the end of the panel where he talked about how 9/11 inspired Nier. Now, of course, 9/11 was a horrible thing that happened. Tragic, tons of people died, and of course, that was an awful event. And if it was possible to get rid of it and avoid it, of course, that would be a great thing to do. But, you know. But this is not to mean any disrespect or anything. So, continue on. He said his inspiration, okay, now, of course this is going to be incredibly spoilerific, so, if you're watching either my Let's Play, or you haven't played it yet and haven't even watched that, and you want to experience it blindly, this is going into major spoiler shit, so fair warning. Anyway, so anyone who's actually completed Nier a few times, you would know that the shades are actually the souls of human people, and that Nier and the other people who you think are people are actually shells that were made by them to embody those souls again, because they lost their humanity, per se, because of the event of the weird parallel ending of Drakengard 1, where the ancient god thing and the dragon, both Angela died, and their weird magic shit fucking screwed up the world. Their bodies of magic, and that just fucked everything up and caused war and chaos and all kinds of fucking shit. But he said the kind of parallel is, and I relate to this, okay? Look. But the terrorists were awful, horrible people, of course. But when I was in high school, which is when 9/11 happened, there were so many stupid people that were like, why don't we just nuke Iraq? Just nuke it! Because it's terrorists, not Iraq. The thing some people don't understand at the time, Iraq had 4 different bodies of power trying to take it over. Kind of like Dynasty's warriors, basically. Because, if you know anything about Dynasty warriors, that time period was a giant war over all the land, basically. That's what half the killers in Dynasty warrior are. They were either soldiers that were representatives of a Pacific sink, or they were oh damn, what is that dude's name? Cao? Then Liu Bei was another one, and I believe it was Liu Bei that won that war, wasn't it? And then you had the Yellow Scarf Band people and shit. It's a territorial war that they're trying to take over the country. And yes, there were terrorists in Iraq doing that, but they weren't the entire body of Iraq. But you had these dumb people that just splat the whole thing off the side of the fucking map. That makes no damn sense, you dumb idiots. But anyway, that's getting into that. But yeah, getting the terrorists were obviously an interest of America. These people fucked up and they need to go die. So, we sent soldiers over there. But there were incidents where soldiers who also had that same mindset have done awful things in Iraq, and that shit came back over here. And I remember there was a guy who executed children, Iraqi children, for no fucking reason. And there were a lot of different horrible stories. And he said his kind of inspiration now is these two sides that don't really want to understand each other. And that kind of makes sense, Willie. Because you have the shades and what the shells, the people that kneel and all, and neither one really understands each other. The shades, the actual humans, obviously feel the shells have no humanity and are just inanimate things that were meant for them to embody so they could be human again. But somehow they gain a conscience and yet they refuse their existence as any living creature. Why, the shells themselves think they are human and do not understand that they were actually man-made for a purpose, and they refuse to even do anything with shades. I mean, but of course there are some justifications in Neo's side. Most shades are insane. And you would know that if you know much about the novel. And I don't know a crap load. I know most of the major things in the novel. Basically, the Shadow Lord in Neo, like, keeps the last remaining shades sane. Like, the ones you fight in the Wild Plains and shit, they're all insane. They've gone crazy. Like, the Black Swirl disease thing, when it destroys your shell, you, the shade that was meant for that shell, basically become a fucking insane. You become, it's a two-sided coin. One of you die and the other basically gets fucked, so. And, of course, that would give you the realization that because you killed the Shadow Lord, because he is like this beacon keeping things sane, and it has something to do with novel. Merely I'm not horrible, there was an experiment with him with that. And basically, by killing him, you've doomed everything. All the shades are going to go either insane or die, and because of that, that causes the Black Swirl, which kills the show. So either way, you've doomed all life. So it's really a fucked up ending, to be honest. It's really fucked up, and it really makes sense in this parallel, because both sides had ignorant people that... Now, obviously, the terrorists themselves are just assholes, but I mean, like, you had people doing shit to people who had nothing to do with terrorists. Like, those incidents were inexcusable and awful. Now, I understand, and I'm sure somebody might bring it up, there were incidents of children who were forced to do things for the terrorists. And there was an incident that was exactly like that. And, you know, that's more a mixed feeling thing. But like I said, we're not here trying to talk in depth a lot about that. But, you know, war is a horrible thing. War and terrorism and all that shit's crap. But it's kind of interesting in a way, because I've always thought that was an interesting parallel, that, you know, Neo thinks he's good and he's all that's right in the world, but, I mean, like, the shade in the junk town was a child. You murdered a child, and actually, you could argue all the little shades could actually be children. And the little egg things near the end of the game get proven to be babies. So, I mean, really, you're murdering, like, tons of young, essentially. I mean, it's not like you're... You know, it's just an interesting parallel. Are you really doing the right thing? Are you really the good guy in this story? You know, the ending for Poor Soul really fits here. Were you really the good guy? Did you really do what was right? You know... It's a really interesting parallel there. And then, of course, you know, there was the fact that Neo's birthday is on September 11th. But the creator did admit that was supposed to be a placeholder date. And that just got left like that by accident, actually. So, and that can show roots in how it inspired him a little. So, it is a bit of an interesting parallel. I know I keep saying that. Stop saying parallel. But, of course, you know, you gotta also keep in mind, the game was originally being developed as a weird, dark, kind of like the grim tales of fairy tales and shit. And that's why a lot of the bosses are named off different fairy tale characters, like Hansel and Gretel, Wendy, Hook, and that, are named after different fairy tales and that. Because that was supposed to be the original idea of the game's development. But obviously, you know, there was a lot of twists and turns. So, On the last note, I will post a link to that article for the other information in it, because there's other stuff where he talks about how he kind of comes up with plots and develops his games. And ultimately, in the end, he ended his panel talking about how he felt he failed to convey a gray area in games of real emotions. And personally, I think he's wrong, to be honest. I mean, I found Nier to be very touching. Drakengard 2 was kind of okay, and Drakengard 1, well, it evokes emotions, but not sad emotions. That evokes just a lot of weird fucking emotions. Just lots of bizarre emotions. So, possibly I'd have to disagree. I think he's being very humble about that, but, that's just me. But it'll be always inspiring to see new ideas from him. So, what do you think about this interesting parallel between the two groups and the inspiration possibly being based a lot around, well, I mean, not possibly, he admitted it was based around events of 9/11. Well, what do you think about it? I think, I just wanted to share my 2 cents on that. I thought that was kind of an interesting perspective, because he really talked about the 2 point of views of the 2 sides, so it was an interesting idea. I definitely recommend giving it a read, and feel free to share with me your own thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So, anyway, Toulouse, I got more Dark Souls 2, and I gotta die! Praise the sun, and be a rat bro prick in the ruins. What? The rats are kind of fun, actually.